Oh shit. Here we go again.
Low, low, man. Low, low,
man. You like contracts, right? You're a contract guy.
I read contracts instead of conventional pornography, yes.
Are you guys enjoying the stream today?
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy, Andrew Esquire, American attorney, living over here in Asia. And this is Legal Minds, where we teach you to be your own judge. Glad to be here with you all. I thought I was going to have technical difficulties. I thought I was going to need an extra 10 minutes, but I realized I just muted my headphones, and so I just needed to unmute them. But I'm here today. Thank you guys for patience. Thank you for waiting. I appreciate you all. Also, sorry for moving the stream twice, but I was super sick the last 24 hours, actually like 36 hours. So I'm just recovering from that. I had a massive fever, which was epically epic in pain. But I'm back now. I'm good to be here and run through this presentation today. I didn't have enough time today with everything I needed to do and just kind of getting better to do a fast facts version of this, but I may be able to get one done in the near future as to this specific episode today. So you may get a fast facts version of this that comes out tomorrow morning or something like that. So a little bit of scuff. Is there a PP? Yes, there is a PP. It is a moderately sized PP. It's an average PP for legal mindset. It's about an average. So yeah, we're gonna have a good time today. I'm gonna go through. Today is a day to go through some arguments that have been made by Lawtube. We're gonna go through some of both the Hasan Orbiter lawsuits and Hasan himself. I'm gonna cover some of the defenses and some of the things we've seen in the comments because over the last let's say 5 days, 6 days, I was traveling and I really wasn't home and able to address a lot of these comments. So I'm going to go and address some of the comments, some of the things people were saying, some of the defenses that people brought up that I hadn't been able to bring up yet. So we're going to go through and just respond to that related to both the Orbiter lawsuits and Hasan. So kind of handling this as part of one episode. And if you guys have any questions, you can ask me in the chat as long as it's related to one of these two things. All right, let me get this here. Manacham became a new member. Welcome. And King Luja for 5 Legal Mindset memberships. Thank you so much. Yes, Hasan does not have a PP like I have a PP. I'm just saying. But yeah, it's good to be back here, guys. I appreciate all of you being here with me today. And for those who don't know, I will be heading to Japan tomorrow. So I'll be streaming. I'll still be streaming. I'm bringing my full streaming setup. It'll be fun. And we are going to do a Japan meetup. We're going to get that room confirmed very shortly. So if you're in Japan and you want to meet up in Tokyo, it's going to be on Tuesday. Next Tuesday, I believe that's the 15th. Yes, the 15th. So if you're around in Tokyo, if you happen to be on this side of the world, head over to Tokyo, 15th, 6 p.m. We'll get the information very, very shortly. Let's see here. Oh, Nugent for 100 Oz saying, hey, love what you do. Thank you for all you're doing. Appreciate it. I am happy to be here. I'm happy to be with you guys. And I'm happy to be having fun and giving a legal education, giving objective information as best I can. So thank you. And Fallen Hero for 5 Legal Mindset memberships. Thank you so much. All right. So let's get started here with Lawtube versus Hasan. And this is something I thought up after pretty much most of Lawtube has commented on this. Now, I know there are a few members of Lawtube that have not, and I'm not going to say that all of Lawtube agrees with me or, all of Lawtube endorses me, but enough have commented that I can say the general consensus of Lawtube is X, right? And I think that's fair. at least of the people that consider themselves part of Lawtube as a greater thing. Not as a collective entity, but as a group of individuals that stream on legal topics. And for those that don't know what Lawtube is generally the legal streamers or the legal video makers on YouTube. Now, that can be a broader definition, that can be a more narrow definition, but generally people that are out there educating people and entertaining people related to legal topics. There are lots of different channels out there that are doing legal streaming. A lot of them focus on criminal streaming. So they'll focus on trials. They'll focus on maybe a murder case or whatever else, right? Many of them were doing the Reed trial recently. And there'll be other trials that they cover in the future. And while I will sometimes cover court cases that are of personal interest or that seem particularly spicy, I don't always do that. Many other channels do that better than indeed I do. And one of the beautiful things about Lawtube, one of the things that's really awesome is every single lawyer within this has their own specialty. They all have their own thing that they're really good at, their thing they know a lot about. And that's sort of like having a law firm. At a law firm, especially a big law firm, you have different senior partners that are special at different things and that have different focuses. And that's one of the great things I find about this community is that you can turn to a person who perhaps has more niche knowledge than you in that area if it's of their area of specialty. So I think that's a pretty cool thing. It's a really cool thing. And one thing that's really amazing is that we can always disagree on legal stuff and still be cool with each other, which is always very nice. I do enjoy that. Knockoff Amian says, does Amazon have the right to replace Twitch's CEO or break their partnership with Twitch? If they break their partnership, could it end up bankrupt? I don't know their finances. So you're asking me a question that involves me looking at their finances. I would need to get their financial arrangements, etc. I don't know the back of the house for them, so I couldn't say that. As for replacing their CEO, I don't know what their agreement is and the nature of their agreement, but assuming that's a parent company, then yes, at least they would probably be able to influence that. But I would need to look into that. I don't think Amazon is not going to go bankrupt. Let me put it that way. Amazon is definitely not going to go bankrupt. As for Twitch, I mean, I think the platform would be bought up, if anything, because there would be another company that could put it to use, right? So even if they had to sell it or whatever, they would keep the platform in general because there's a lot of things that could be used wisely, right? Okay, I'm gonna answer some stuff here, guys. I'm not gonna if it's an off-topic question because we're gonna move here. I will answer it very shortly or not answer it at all. So let's keep it generally on topic. GoBird says, off topic, please feel free to discard any thoughts on the Epstein issue. Nope. Mostly because this was the outcome that was going to happen all along. I don't know why people were surprised. Roadkill VT says the ad recommends using a VPN to watch stuff on Netflix and other countries to gain additional content. Does this subvert American availability? The ad. Well, maybe you saw an ad maybe for some sort of VPN service. So yeah, that's what people often will advertise for VPNs. Does it subvert American availability? I mean, different countries have different shows available in different languages. So for example, over here in Asia, I'll tell you this right now, and I'm going to be in Japan tomorrow. And then, I go to Korea often, Philippines, etc. Every country has wildly different programming that's available, even on the same platform like Netflix, etc. So if I was to VPN into Japan, I can have a lot more anime than I have here in even Thailand. However, versus America, it's like, yeah, no, the offering is way greater here. So here I have way, way, way bigger of an offering than elsewise. So yeah. Okay, let's get into it. Okay, the Hasan orbital lawsuit. So this is something that's really shocking to me, and something that I was really surprised about is that there is unanimous agreement amongst lawyers. So I have not seen a single lawyer on the internet, and I've looked over the past week that is said, or 2 weeks actually, that is said that any of the orbiters, that's Denims, Caseytron, Frogan, even Sean the Black, even though he's not being sued, we're going to get to him. Don't worry. Oh, don't worry. We're getting to Sean the Black. I haven't seen anybody say they're going to win on the merits. Not one person. You know how many lawyers like to disagree with each other and think they're going to win, that, we're going to argue the other side or argue, devil's advocate. I have not seen one that's to say, nope, this is looking good for them. Now, of course, there's no guarantee, which is my second one. There's no guarantee. But Ethan Klein clearly has a legal upper hand, right? So obviously, there's never 100% shot, but all of them have said it doesn't look good for the orbiters at the very least. And that's saying something. That's definitely saying something. Someone brought up, I think there's someone brought up someone who was defending the orbiters, but the only defense I've heard of the orbiters, and there's one, there's one minor character. I'm not even going to say his name. The chat knows, but I'm not even going to say this guy's name. And he did not actually say they were going to win on the merits, from what I heard. All he said was the system was broken, and it's a systemic problem, and it's not fair that people with a lot of money win. That's not saying they're going to win on the merits. So he did not say that they're going to win in court. What he said was the system's not fair. And that's just being contrarian to be contrarian. And that's being emotional to be emotional. And that's not what lawyers should do. So, yeah, that's a it's funny, but it's not going to win in court, right? It's not going to win in court. Okay. Damages could very well sink the creators forever. The legal funds won't help. So the legal funds are not going to really help these creators because, number one, they're probably not even enough to pay for the lawyers. And number two, even if they have a legal fund, and even if that fund's their defense, and they lose, which they probably will, they're going to be done. They're going to have a lot of their assets at risk for a very long time. It's not going to be good for Denims, Frogan, or Caseytron at all whatsoever. So I think the damages are something they should be very, very worried about. And I don't think even Daddy Hasan is going to be able to financially bail them out from how deep of a hole they're going to get into. And last, and this is a great one, Sean the Black got lucky he's a nobody. So yeah, exactly. Like Alan Walker said, who the F is Sean the Black? He is an actual nobody. So Ethan Klein had talked about suing Sean the Black. And I had no idea who this guy was. I didn't even know what the hell happened. Because he was accused, I guess Ethan was accused of being a misogynist, I guess, because he only sued women. So he wanted to throw Sean the Black in there. Yeah, he's a literal who. He's a literal nobody. And let me actually remove this for a second and take this down. He was dead to rights in terms of what he did. I'm going to show you one, and this is just one instance in his overall reaction video where he clearly said something very incriminating. So let's leave this. Let's pull this up here.
Bro, you can't just say like, oh, everybody's loving it because you sent your audience to go like the video. And then like, for the most part, people just genuinely aren't watching the video on the main video feed. You know what I mean? The only people watching the video on the video feed are the people who like the video. Everybody else has decided to not give it views and watch it everywhere else. You know what I mean?
So right there, he said the magic words. Everybody else has decided to not give it views and watch it elsewhere. And the only reason, right, is because this guy has like 17K subs and this video got 8K views. That's nothing. That's a joke, right? He's got 17K subs That's a nobody. That's nothing. That's a joke. This video got 8K views. That's nothing. It's not worth Ethan Klein going after him because he's really so broke and so puny, right? So I think he just got lucky. Generally, that he wasn't sued because he really wasn't worth it. And Ethan was like, look, I've already got 3 lawsuits. I'm already, paying my lawyers enough. Do I really want to pay my lawyers another, $50,000, $100,000 to go after this extra guy? And when he's kind of penniless and he's kind of a loser, he's kind of a nobody. Probably no. So I think that was probably the decision that came down the pike regarding Sean the Black, even though a lot of his statements just as incriminating as Denham's and Frogan and Casey Tron, and would put him in a similar position to those other folks. Okay, before we go on here to the next side of the PP, let me go in here. 10 p.m. National for 10 Canadians. His work for today got canceled, so I finally get to catch a Legal Mindset stream. Also, hey, Ramsey, here's $10 to never get because you're a terrible person. Suffer, cabbage boy. Suffer hard. Thank you. Roadkill VT says Ethan's VPN ad in his Hasan video. Okay. Could this be used against Ethan as he's not serious in protecting Mark? No. That's a very interesting argument, right? But no. So that once again, and this is something I've said before, and I think people need to listen to this carefully because once again, there are moral arguments and there are legal arguments. If you want to say that makes Ethan morally bad or morally inconsistent, that's fine. That's your personal choice. And I'm not saying whether you're right or wrong on that. You can make that choice morally, whether you think that is right or wrong or whatever else, right? However, legally, that is not a distinction at all. Your an ad that's part of an overall video is not something that, first of all, like when you're watching that as a substitute, actually that makes it worse because he lost revenue from the potential views that would have gone towards the ad, right? So not only is he missing the overall YouTube revenue, but those ads, the ads you embed in your videos, right? That people embed in their videos, which, I don't do, I may do in the future, but I don't do those right now where you have a kind of a read in ad. They pay per view. So he lost revenue on that. So if anything, it makes it worse for the people who watched it, who essentially Casey Tron, Denham's, Frogan, makes it worse for those people. Okay, let's get it here. Robert Von Beek, 4 months. My biorhythm is going to sue you. Well, thank you, Robert. Glad you're here, brother. Appreciate you coming to the channel, and you're a great supporter. Artemis says, were you able to comment from the part-time lawyer, doctor, mailman, plumber? Wait, a different Lawtube. Yes, a much different Lawtube. Patrick S. for 10 says, on Ethan's podcast, he talked briefly about the cases. He says he's going all the way through. Doesn't sound like he's going to settle with any of them since hell, get the snarks anyways. And I think one of the things that he's going to get from this is discovery, and it's going to open a lot of doors to other people being sued. So I think obviously the people on the snark subreddit, they're going to be sweating because they're going to be revealed in due time. But I think there's more to see there, and there's more messages we're going to get as this thing goes on. Clarissa Tadiga Garcia became a new member. Welcome. Spider Bro for $4.99 says there's a voice redeem of Sean the Black calling Kirsha a supporter of a funny mustache man, and nobody knew it was him until this situation. That's actually funny. Shout out to Kirsha. Very based. Fox girl. Friday Dreams says for Aussie $14.99, Ethan said he would never sue Hasan for reacting to the nuke because he openly asked him to react. Would that be a legal argument in theory if Ethan tried to sue? Just wonder. I don't think. Well, first of all, if he had sued Hasan, maybe, but that would be specific to Hasan, right? So once again, you have to, look at the context of the statement, look at the context. If he really said, I will never sue Hasan no matter what regarding the nuke, okay, sure. Right? That's fine. But is that really what he said? I don't have that clip. I haven't seen that clip. So I'm speculating here based on a super chatter telling me this is what he said. I don't know. Chat, did he say that? Because I didn't see that one. I haven't seen that clip. I'm going to believe you on this, Friday Dreams, but I have not seen that clip. But if he sued Hasan, the problem is that doesn't protect any of the orbiters. So it doesn't protect Denims, Rogan, or Caseytron. So it's really a moot point. It's like a hypothetical. So Ella says for 5 Oz, says, hey, dude, been watching you the last couple weeks from Oreo streams. Awesome. Love the content. Keep making people mad with the law. I will. And I'm actually going to resolve right now an issue that was with Oreo. And I think he was arguing with some folks online. I think Dan and some other folks about the definition of doxing. We'll talk about that in just a second. Banky for 5. Thank you. Roadkill says American licensing holders lose revenue. Ah, yes, that's very true. Bleg says, does selective enforcement impact IP protections? No. You can choose who you want to sue. That's been true throughout the entire legal system, and it's no different in IP law. You can choose who you want to go after. And it's not a defense, the speeding defense, right? Where this guy was speeding too, therefore you need to arrest all of us for speeding, or you can't arrest me for speeding. That's not how it works. They can choose who they want to sue. They can choose to waive it and look past it. So, for example, I'm going to give you a great example. Fan films. There have been many fan films of popular franchises. Think Star Wars, Star Trek, etc., right? And in certain cases, these franchises have decided to sue. And in certain cases, they've said, you know what, we're not going to sue. We're going to let it slide. And they've done that on kind of a case-by-case basis, saying, okay, well, this one, we're going to let it happen. But this other one, we're going to sue the hell out of them. And that's okay. It's not a defense. You can't bring up the fact that, hey, they didn't sue these people. That's not a defense. I know that maybe morally it sounds bad, but legally there's no distinction. It's a very good question, though. Thank you. Son the Lynch says Sean has been saved by the literal who armor that kept Kirsha safe from the Transformers until she became too bouncy and jiggly. Magic Zoe says, how might Twitch's handling of Hasan and his orbiters create liability or regulatory issues for Twitch or even Amazon? I've said there's many different avenues that they could come down. There's a breach of contract angle. There's a consumer fraud angle. And at a certain point, there's going to be a negligence angle. And what I'm really worried about now, especially now that we're a week almost past and nothing has happened, is people are going to be brandishing weapons and threatening each other on Twitch. And now it's going to be pretty much fair game for that. And someone else will be banned or not banned, or something will happen. And we're going to have more incidents. We brought up the incident. I talked about this incident with Sin City Manny in Vegas, right? And, for those that don't know about that, this guy, was out there on the Vegas Strip and some other content creator was talking smack about him, right? And he went out there and shot him up, right? And he was this YouTuber. He's charged with murder after Las Vegas strip shooting, right? There he is. So the point is that I don't want to see these things happen. I genuinely don't want to see these things happen. And I think by allowing the lines to be blurred and allowing the line to be pushed, Twitch is playing a very dangerous game. It's playing a very dangerous game with that, with allowing people to threaten other people. Let's see. R. Jones says, if Hasan slanders or disparages you again, please hit him with a suit. Crowdfund your expenses. I'll donate. Dude needs an ego check. I'll just say this. I move in silence, but when I take shots, I take headshots. That's all I'm going to say. Zero Chaos Hedgehog says the advertiser considered getting them for lost revenue. That could happen. Yes, they could. Sure. Johnny Mad says, does Reddit has to obey in a subpoena? Yes, they do. They do. Reddit cannot ignore subpoenas. Reddit is not immune from subpoenas. Will N said, I honestly did not know there's a difference between attorney and lawyer. I learn something new every day. Yeah, and once again, that distinction is a general colloquial verb distinction. Some state bars actually do require you to use the word lawyer only if you're registered with the bar. But generally, as a dictionary definition, that's the distinction. There is a distinction between the two in the United States. QB for 10 says, not gonna lie, it would make me double take if you take one day started including ads and suddenly say, thanks to our sponsor, Raid Shadow Legends. I hope I don't ever have to advertise Raid Shadow Legends. I really hope so. Gatto for $4.99 says, could Reddit be sued for their inconsistent enforcement snark Redditors? I think the bigger issue there is what activities are they engaging in? And let's say those Redditors are engaging in what is cyber harassment. That's going to be a problem because, and we'll pull up the California law here in just a second, which is 653.2. But if these Reddit mods are engaging in that, and they're found to be engaging in that, or their DMs or other things that are proving that they're engaged in that, that could be a problem where they're intending to intimidate people or threaten people. That's a problem. And I do think some of these people do need a reality check in terms of what they feel emboldened to do. And I do think Reddit has allowed and emboldened a lot of its communities to push some limits. That's true. Elizabeth Adrian Sarzo says, last time I sent a super chat, I was trying to defend Hasan and be charitable. After seeing him slander you, I have no more charitability towards him. He should really take a step back and apologize. You know, it's really funny because I've always said your people are welcome here. If you're a Hasan fan, if you're an anybody fan, I don't care. We're talking about the law. We'll keep it objective. And I've tried to keep it objective. Now today, I'm going to put a little heat on Hasan, but it's all objective stuff. And it's all stuff that's based in the fact and law. So, you know, I'm sorry if you don't have any argument legally or factually against what I have to say, Hasan. That's not my fault. That's on you, buddy. If all you've got is just made up stuff and like ridiculous defamation and slander, that's not going to help you out. Certainly it's not going to help you in court. It's not going to help your orbiters. It's not going to help you with advertisers. B. Bryan says, I'm here for the long term. Still working at seeing your older work. Great job. Hey, thank you. Jan H. Kruger says, Ethan is not a government. Equality is not a case here. Exactly. He does not need to be fair to everyone. He can choose whoever he wants. Exactly. And that's one big confusion. People often, confuse individual I could say rights with government obligations, right? So whereas the law might apply differently to a city or a state or a country doing something, an individual doing something is quite different. And individuals have freedom, and individuals have the freedom to even be evil or petty, right? So long as it's legal. You can be petty as hell as long as it's legal. David, as a new member, Chuds R Us says, watch your 30K sub video yesterday, which led me to the video on Jeff. He was an amazing role model. Yes. Congrats. The spirit will guide you forever. Thank you so much. He's a great guy. I was so lucky to have him in my life. And honestly, you guys, we live one life. We have few close friends and mentors, and you should always appreciate the ones that gave you wisdom for the future. Gus says, the guy that Hasan doxed and threatened with a gun on stream sue Twitch, or would it be limited to Hasan? Maybe both. He could try both. I think the guy's in the Netherlands. Now, part of the issue there also is that guy indeed threatened Hasan as well, right? So while that guy himself, from what it looks like, right, might, let's say, face some opposition to certain claims, I think there's a possibility that he might win others. So I would consult with a local attorney if I was him and try to see what they could pursue against Hasan on Twitch. Big producers, at this point, it's just about whether they're going to ban Tectone over and let Hasan and crew get away with. Yeah, it's true. Like Tectone's going to be banned again for calling some girl fat, and Hasan is just going to continue to get away with as much as they're going to let him get away with, because they're literally. I mean, Dan Clancy sits with a body pillow, like was a Dakimakura of Hasan in his bed every night. It's weird. It's a weird interest. Rosie, as a new member, welcome. Cable for 10 says, could Twitch be open a lawsuit for unbalanced loss bans, i.e. Tectone being banned and losing income? Yeah, that's what I said. That's why I wanted to push Tectone to just look at it from the perspective of Like Tectone has been banned so much that he definitely has probably lost income. He's probably lost some advertising revenue. He's probably lost subscribers. So there's a lot of stuff going on there when it comes to those bans via Hasan, and Hasan should have been banned for similar things. So I would just say he should look into it, right? And I think he is, and you think he says he's got it because he's talking to somebody right now. So best wishes to him. I think he'll do well. What happened to the sued orbiters they lose? They're going to have to pay a lot of money. I'm thinking it's going to be in the 300,000, 400, 500, like $500,000 range. Because remember, they get $150K in statutory damages plus all the rest of the damages. So, $200K would be like a low end, I think, for those guys. Suited Spy for 200 says, greetings from Sweden. Are the orbiters being sued personally or as companies? And is there a general difference? Personally. So I believe a lot of them are small enough they don't have their own companies. So I don't think Casey Tron, Frogan, or Denims has a LLC or company behind them. I could be wrong, but based on the documents, it looked like it was personally. Would their loss result in paying damages with personal assets or just bankrupting said company? Love your content. No, I don't think it would be bankrupting a company because I didn't see any of them as having them. It would be their personal assets, like their own assets. Van says, waiting for Andrew's appearance on Menace Crew AI. Check 282 says, since Denims deleted her VOD and then reacted to an edited version without the theft statements, would this be an interest of copyright infringement? Yes, but beyond that, we talked about this spoliation. She's trying to hide evidence. She's trying to bury evidence. That's not good. I mean, she's allowed to take down whatever she wants to take down, but it looks like she's trying to hide it. Now, mind you, Ethan probably already downloaded it. His lawyers probably have everything they already have to have, right? So I'm sure that before they even filed the lawsuit, they had all the evidence they needed. They downloaded it, they had it, they timestamped it. So Denim's thinking she's smart by doing that is actually pretty fucking stupid. It's pretty fucking stupid. But once again, these people think they're smart. These people think. Let's get on to Hasan. So we talked about the orbiters, right? And how they're screwed. Let's talk about Hasan again, because I want to go over some things. And then we're also going to go over after this some defenses people brought up. So brandishing what appears to be a weapon with the intent to intimidate violates California law. And I want to reinforce that it doesn't matter whether it's an airsoft or not. So a lot of people really care about it being airsoft. It doesn't matter. When you look at the California statute, which we've looked at before, but I'm going to look at it again. When you look at 653.2, which is right here, it doesn't matter what it is. If you have the intent to place another person in reasonable fear, and then you publish their image, right? Such as their digital image of that person, even a public image. This is a big deal because a lot of people, especially when we get to the next one, think it has to be a private image. No, any digital image, even a public one, even their Facebook profile, even their Instagram. When you publish that with the intent to intimidate, you violate California law. And I know that this doesn't constitute what the regular person would call doxing. Showing a public profile can be impermissible if you're doing it with the intent to intimidate or threaten. And that's what Hasan was doing. So while most people will not consider this doxing because it's public information, it is indeed criminal. And once again, even showing public information, if you do it with the intent, if you do it with the threatening nature, that's a problem, right? That's definitely a problem. This prevents people from pulling up public pictures and, saying whatever they want to say about it and being like, hey, go get this guy, right? Which essentially, if you think about it, right, with Hasan's large audience, him pulling up a photo and going in on a guy while he's holding a gun is sending a message to his audience that they need to go get this guy, that something needs to happen to this guy. Just saying. It's the intent. It's the intent that makes the difference. So the turning here is the state of mind. And what was the state of mind? And I think it's pretty clear. It wasn't a happy-go-lucky state of mind. We'll say that. We'll say that. Also, this is something that people brought up, and this is a very good point. If it was an airsoft gun, because people were saying it's an airsoft gun. I don't believe it was an airsoft gun, but let's pretend it was an airsoft gun. Then apparently modification is illegal under SB 199, which is California law. I did not know this. I did not know this. This is something I learned, right? Thank you, chat. Thank you, commenters. Thank you, people who email me. Apparently, even if it was an airsoft gun, it was illegal to modify it in California, which once again, Hasan should thank the great state of California, because pretty much, many of these laws are only California laws, right? Or specific California laws, right? But California requires that orange tip, just a tip, but it's got to be orange. Let's read some comments here before we keep going. Jojo Godfrey says, from what I've seen, Denims did have about an hour of plus commentary on Ethan's nuke, more than Frogan or Casetron, because means her case is strong. It could be, yeah, and her damages could be less, maybe. That's possible, right? However, I think she's still in trouble based on her statements about it being a market replacement. So I do think those are substitute, right? A substitute. I think Denims made probably the strongest comments. So while the commentary part may be true, this is a substitute comments really screw her. Lee Lake says, used to watch Legal for my Lawtube fix, but I'm really enjoying your channel and way more. Keep up yourself on the road to 1 million subs. We're going to get there slowly and steadily. We are going to get there very slowly. We're going to get there just slowly. Sabai, as I say here in Thailand. A Logical Victory for 10 says, hey again, my fellow Florida man. Twitch banned on account for calling out Hasan in his chat for the hypocrisy of Hasan targeting another Twitch user on Twitch while he was brandishing a weapon. Yes, he's still not banned though. Still not banned. Raider Storm says you should go on EFAP movie podcast for any law-related movie reviews they do, since I don't think they want Rekieta back after his incident. Maybe. I'm happy to go on for law stuff, although I will say I do hate most legal movies because they're so not realistic as to the actual practice of law or the reality of law, but still. Sentinel Prime, welcome as a new member. Your ToS 83, welcome as a new member. Bad News Badger says, I was watching some streams by people taking Hasan's side, reacting to your video. None of them can make any arguments on what you said and spent more time attacking you instead of what you said. And the crazy thing is, they think that if they're able to discredit me, they're going to win. Well, here's the thing. And let me go back here to the first one. There is unanimous agreement amongst lawyers. So are you going to be able to go out there and discredit every lawyer on the internet or everybody that's done this, right? My good friend on civil law, Nate the lawyer, Runkle the Bailey, all these guys are competent on this. Are you going to be able to take everybody out and say everybody's illegitimate? Because look, I don't care what people say about me. People are going to talk shit about me, are going to try to attack me personally, whatever. I've never given a shit about that. I literally, again, all lawyers that are on the internet agree with me. Now, once again, they agree with me that the merits of the case are in favor of Ethan Klein. Nobody has come out and showed that, period. Right? Period. Spark 68 says, I don't know any state that allows it wasn't real or working gun as an affirmative defense. If it looks real, it is. And this law isn't about whether or not it's a gun. It's about, is what you're doing intimidating? Edward says Hasan doxed the wrong guy, by the way. Oh, did he? Well, anyways, by the way, I do agree. Look, if Hasan, and this is a little bone, once again, I'm very fair here. If what he showed was a public profile, I think most people don't consider that doxing. Most people don't consider showing public profiles or public YouTube page or public whatever. They don't consider that doxing. However, it could still be illegal, even though it's not what you might consider, quote unquote, doxing. Right? Stillfire said, U.S. federal law requires orange tip. Really? Oh, interesting. Jan H. Kruger says, IMHO, real gun or not, is irrelevant. Average people, especially from other jurisdictions, are unable to tell it. Exactly. I didn't look close enough. I wasn't doing an inspection and able to tell. I thought it could be a real gun or it could be an airsoft. I have no idea. Even me, who served in the army, cannot see. Fair point, German Bundeswehr. Oh, okay. Yeah, it's hard to tell. It's hard to tell. It's not obvious. High Power for 10 says, would the Brandenburg v. Ohio line be crossed? I feel like Hasan has definitely tiptoed over it. He's pushing it. He's definitely pushing it. And that's where you get, direct calls to violence or push to violence. And beyond that, with these statutes, they've already held up to constitutional scrutiny. So there's nothing about that statute, the electronic cyber harassment statute in California, that I think would be unconstitutional. I think that statute regarding, exposing personal data with the intent to intimidate, including digital images, even public images, the statute does not differentiate. I think it would stand up to constitutional scrutiny. Joshua Bradley says, is there a situation where Hasan could be held accountable for inciting violence from his audience out to this? Yes. If there's a situation where Hasan told his followers to go do something or take an action or go after somebody, yes, he could be held liable. Now, I haven't seen that yet, but if he did that, theoretically, hypothetically, yes. Yes. XQCL. Marcy says 2025, the era of people recording their crimes. It's crazy. It's crazy. People are recording themselves live and just convicting themselves live. It's great. Nopales Jesus says, to be fair, Hasan is the least threatening person. I don't think anybody's afraid of Hasan. Actually afraid of Hasan, but he likes to LARP as a intimidating person. Big Buddha says, just a tip. Just phrasing. Love Archer. Alex says, 4 months. Let's go. Let's go. FKK, Truthon says, what would change if the orbiter was EU based? Well, if it was EU based and they violated IP law, I don't think that much. I think ETH could still sue them. It'd be more expensive though. It'd be more expensive for him, but he could still sue him if he wanted to. That's a good question. I don't think much would change though. And Nori says, rare Cali Law W on being so restrictive on guns. I know, it's rare. Illogical Victory says, here's what I mean. Twitch full banned a user for criticism of Hasan. This is while Hasan was brandishing the gun. So Twitch was watching that live stream long. Yes, they know. Twitch knew. So yes, they do have culpability here if they don't ban Hasan. Clay Ben Trace says, do you think that Twitch could be subpoenaed? Absolutely, they can. E1137 Neo says, you mean My Cousin Vinny or A Few Good Men aren't accurate depictions of proper learning? My Cousin Vinny is a classic. Don't slander My Cousin Vinny. Becky says, I'm more afraid of Hasan's chat. They are pretty unhinged. Reverend North says, on Epstein, we are not surprised, just disappointed. Yes, that's very true. That's fair. All right, let's continue here. So obviously there's more information and more defenses and stuff that was brought up. One thing I want to bring up real quick, and this is a good one, because some people brought this instance up. If you don't know, this is obviously more critical here. And he has he had an incident. He had an incident with Sneeko. I had the video pulled up, but I pulled it down and closed it at some point. But if you remember, Sneeko threatened him, and Sneeko was talking about clips. He's like, oh, look at these clips. So what More Critical did was, in true Florida man fashion, much like myself, said, you idiot, these are not clips, these are mags. This is a magazine, right? And he showed him that, and he educated him on that. He was doing an educational, and I'll put this one up, educational demonstration using a weapon for reference. There was no threat there. So when people say, what about Penguin Zero? What about Moist Critical? No. He didn't threaten them. He just showed that Sneeko was an idiot and didn't know what he was talking about, right? And educated him on, gun terminology. That's not a threat, right? So Anybody who brought that up is what about this guy? And by the way, I love the what about isms. It's great. There was no threat there. If you find education threatening, that's your problem, right? And maybe that's Hasan's problem too. Hasan finds my education threatening to him. And I'm sorry, Hasan. I'm just trying to help you learn and grow. I'm trying to teach you big words like vexatious litigant. You know, the word you don't know how to use. Yeah, we're gonna teach you big words, Hasan. You can be a big boy. Learn how to speak English properly. Illogical Victory said, is this live? Yes. Kettlefire Charmer Hilta says, in regards to that, Hasan actually told his audience to go after at least one U.S. senator a few months. Rick Scott. Yeah, and that, once again, he's very lucky. He's been very lucky with a lot of these things. Snowbrain says, as you stated legally, it makes no difference. But looking at the magazine he accidentally dropped, there's a small protrusion at the top that indicates it's airsoft. A real mag would be flat or slightly slated at the top. Oh, cool. Well, then he illegally modified an airsoft, right? And he committed a different crime as well, in addition, right? So not just intimidating, but also illegally modifying an airsoft. So congrats, you're guilty of more crimes then. Hudson Hawk says, for 10, would it still be considered doxing if someone shared a link to a real estate website with Chink's nephew's address and other housing info? Yes, I think. But once again, I'm just going to say this on my channel because I don't know if you saw my 300K subscriber episode, but while other channels and people do doxing and stuff like that, I don't support doxing in any form, shape, or manner. If anybody tries to do doxing on my channel, I'm going to ban you, right? I don't support it. I don't endorse it. I think it's a horrible thing to do. So yeah, I don't encourage doxing at all whatsoever, even amongst people that are not nice to me, right? Joshua Bradley says, have you seen the AI videos with Asmongold, Tecton, and Nux? I feel like you're slated to show up next. Probably. Friday Dream says, this stream might break Hasan. He's very fragile. I know. He's a gentle giant. Dunkus says, for 99. Question. Did he pull up the right account in response to their threats, or did he apply them to both accounts? If so, how does that change the argument on the correct threatening user? Just asking. So you guys are telling me it's the wrong person. I'm not sure whether it is or not. So this is all hypothetical for me. But if he did pull up the right person, that's a problem. And if he didn't, that's a problem. I mean, it could also be a problem if he pulled up somebody that, at random and directed hate towards them. I mean, that could cause separate problems. I don't think that changes the statutory analysis from the statute, the California statute. I don't think that changes the analysis, even if he brought up the wrong person. But I think that would give an additional possibility for a separate cause of action by the wrong person. So it would bring more heat on Hasan. Bruh says, just for context, the Dutch guy who was doxxed was innocent. Anyways, do you think he could sue Hasan accordingly to Dutch law? And with that having ramifications, should he want to enter the Schengen area? Yes. That's what I think. Now, you're a lawyer, but this is why I said he needs to contact a local lawyer, because what we want to make sure is that Hasan cannot get into any more Berlin brothels. We want to keep him out of Berlin brothels. So in order to do that, let's put the pressure on him in the Schengen area, in the Schengen zone, so that next time he stops by, he's going to have more trouble than just with global entry, which we're going to talk about that later. Oh, we're going to talk about that as well. So yes, I would get with a Dutch lawyer and see what you can do. And at a bare minimum, get him so he can't connect in Amsterdam Schiphol Airport, which is a great airport, by the way. I do love the Amsterdam airport. It's a great airport. The Schengen zone is Europe, right? It's essentially the EU. It's the EU. They have a security agreement whereby there are no borders within the Schengen zone. So when you enter the Schengen zone, you can travel freely through the Schengen zone. It's a nice little Euro bubble, for those that don't know, right? For those that don't know. Let's see. Dan L says, I wish I was a fly on the wall when they play vids in the court relating to Ethan's case. I know. It's going to be great. Jam John says, would love a reaction, new SKG video from Ross talking about EU lobbying efforts. I'll look at it. Maybe. I'll take a look. Gray says for 5, Hasan's orbiters, Dems, and others have offered bounty money to get rid of people they disagree with. Twitch was never banned for that. That's really bad. I think it was Asmongold, right? Asmongold had a bounty on him. Once again, Twitch allowing flagrant threats on folks it's a line. And it's something that the more degenerate platforms get away with because they're small and insignificant, but Twitch is not small. And there need to be consequences for that. QB says, I am surprised the parent company Amazon has not stepped in to fix Twitch's mismanagement, especially after Hasan brandished his pea shooter. I think there's a point at which they will, but maybe they are giving some leeway there. I don't know what Amazon's thoughts are on that, but I think it's a little bit too much leeway. And where the pressure needs to come is on the advertisers. There needs to be another advertiser push. Stokes says UF Law CO 2012 Masters of Tax Law 2013. Go Gator. Oh man, a man after my own heart, my own law school. Shout out to the Gators. Spider Bro says it's funny that he tried to compare himself to Charlie when he was clearly acting like Sneeko. Yes. In this story, he was Sneeko, not Charlie. He was not Charlie. Ghost of Aces says the federal law for the orange tip is for sale. The removal varies by state, but it's always supposed to be treated as a real firearm. Well, the California law, it's under the California law, and I don't have it pulled up right now, sorry, but the California law, you're not supposed to modify it even post-sale from what I read. The varying state to state, yes, that's very much true with a lot of regulations. LJ O'Rourke says, member for 14 months. Yes, truly educational. I do get irked on people not understanding the terms of firearms and its parts. And to be honest, guys, even I get those things wrong. And if there's one thing I've learned, it's the guntism. The guntism is strong. But that said, I do appreciate a good educational piece. And Charlie was doing an educational piece. And I'm about to do an educational piece on immigration and immigration law. So you're about to get one here because I've got something special for Hasan. Donovan Smart for $4.99 says, do you think Nux can press charges on Hasan for constantly calling him something he isn't? It seems he's getting harassed by people online. Yes. I think that there's a point at which Nux can. Now, Nux needs to collect all the evidence, needs to take all the clips, needs to do all that stuff. But I think there's a point at which you can. But the thing is, and understand this, Hasan has only been able to get away with this because he's in America. He would never be able to get away with this outside of America, which is why he will never leave the country and why he cannot leave the country, right? And that's what we're going to talk about next, right? Spark68 says, you mean the Lincoln lawyer didn't show real trial and real law? No. Mateo Flores for 50 Swedish kroner says, is it's smart saying that you only go for a headshot when you talk about Hasan after him threatening a guy with a gun? IMO that also felt like a threat. No, that it's a metaphor. It's a metaphor. The metaphor is you don't try to hamper somebody in a minor way. If you're going to come after somebody, use your full effort and your full energy. That's all. But yes, I do appreciate you pointing that out. Thank you. Patrick S. says he's Twitch's golden child. They even sang him happy birthday. Yes, they did. He won't get banned unless Twitch themselves gets sued for their bias. I think there's going to be a broader issue with Twitch at some point, and it's going to be something that hits them so hard that they have to correct these issues. Hudson Hawk says, good to know. I wouldn't dream of sharing it. I was just curious about the legality or possible consequences. Yeah, sure. Gray Jazz says they need to reopen Guantanamo Bay. The first inductee should be Hasan with how much hate he spreads. I mean, look, I'm not saying that Hasan needs to be tortured, right? I think that's your implication there. However, Hasan's associations have gotten him into trouble. And he's already lost something that I think is pretty significant and kind of went under the radar legally on why he lost this thing. So we're going to get into it real quick in a second. Okay. J&H Kruger says, Schengen, nah. That is too simple. EU countries are not in Schengen, but nor EU can be part of Schengen, but it started in Europe, not EU first. Yeah, so it's a hard thing to explain, but just generally, I imagine people outside the EU trying to imagine it as like the traditional Europe is usually within the zone. Mayor Manu Hanya for 100 says, how strong of a case other streamers have against Twitch on breach of contract or unfair trade practices with Tectone? I think Tectone does have a fairly strong case. Amongst all the streamers, Tectone is up there. Susan Spy became a new member. Welcome. Doc Jidzo says, could a plaintiff sue Twitch for damages and have them designated as a publisher if one could prove they intended to stream on Twitch but decided not to do for fear of their bias moderation? So you're kind of bringing 230 into that. And I don't know whether or not that would work. It's a novel legal argument. You could try it, but it's a novel argument. I'm not going to tell you that you have a slam dunk argument. That's a creative argument. I don't know how much juice it would have in court. VR says, I'm American. As far as I know, most states require airsoft to have orange chips or to be visibly distinct from real weapons. That's what I generally know as well. Walter Mellon says for $19.99, I've seen Twitch streamers play films that are on Amazon Prime. Does that change anything, or can the original copyright holders go after them? I think they have an agreement there because of the parent company. So I think they have an agreement. Robert Van Beek says in the Netherlands, online threatening is very serious. Even suggesting a threat with a dough roller could result in a police visit. There we go. So once again, let's ban Hasan from the Netherlands. Then at least the Netherlands brothels will be safe, right? Yurdas83 for 20 legal mindset memberships. Thank you. Yes. Let's get here. Is Hasan hiring Ricada, aka Lionel Putz? Oh man. Hold on. I've got to play the Ricada. Where's the Ricada clip? I got it here.
And they're still fucking nerds.
Bad News Badger for one half says, half imagine it's like going from Canada to the US. You're checked at the Canadian border, but when you clear, there's nothing stopping you from traveling. Yeah, there you go. Alleged Drake says, morning from St. Augustine, oldest city in the continental United States. I love you, brother. Keep up the good content. Yeah, and I love St. Augustine. It's a great city. I've been there many times. Bad News Badger said Twitter too. From Washington, California, you can get checked in at the airport in Germany. From there, you can freely go to France. Yes, correct. Digital TA says, sounds like Neurosama clip I sent you applies. And I'm sorry, I got all the clips. I just haven't had time to upload them. So I've been pretty ill and busy until now. Malcolm Leong says 2026 Twitch is sold to Kicks every day, Gamba Day. Well, Kick has separate issues. Deako says some defenders are using the race card, claiming anti-Arab racism and Islamophobia when the case has nothing to do with those. Even if, okay, let's pretend that Ethan Klein is super Islamophobic. Does that mean he's going to lose in court? Is that a defense? Being like, Your Honor, he's Islamophobic, therefore I get to violate his copyright? In America, you can be bigoted. It's allowed. You can be bigoted. And Hasan can be anti-Semitic, right? So Hasan is allowed to be anti-Semitic. Same with Rogan. They're allowed to be anti-whatever, right? And if Ethan Klein is Islamophobic, that he's actually allowed to be that. That's not illegal. It's not, despite what people think, that would not be illegal in the United States, right? And it doesn't change the legal analysis. Ika Pike says, George Carlin once said, it's a big club and you're not on it. Apply that to Hasan and as a recent DOJ decision. I have to check that out. I don't know which decision you're talking about, but I'll check it out. Mixolydian says, Hasan and other bread tube losers grandstand about Palestine all day, but they're all anti-Ukraine. They don't mind war crimes when the victims are white. Oof. Intentional Weirdo says, came for foodie booty, shave for sun content. By the way, not all UO countries are in the Schengen, but all countries in the EU can travel freely. Yes, so this is where my EU friends are correcting me, and this is correct. I overgeneralize. Not all EU countries are in Schengen, but all the EU can travel freely, right? So there's some nuance there, right? If I have to pull up the map of like which ones are Schengen and which ones are not? Hold on, because I think my EU friends are gonna. Okay, EU. I oversimplified, okay? Here we go. Okay. For those that need a visual, because we like visuals here. Here we go. Okay. Boom. Okay. So here we go. Here's a visual for those my eutistic friends, right? Okay, so blue is EU and Schengen. Yellow is Schengen only. And blue is EU only. Right? So all this purple is both. Switzerland, also Schengen. Norway, also Schengen. Iceland, also Schengen, but not EU. So these are not EU countries, but they're part of Schengen. Right? So you can drive from Portugal to fucking Estonia. I love Estonia. No problem with, or Greece. Right? You're like, and you're just going to drive through Hungary, Romania, Bulgaria, Greece. Right? As part of your nice Euro trip. Good movie. Scotty still doesn't know. Scotty still does not know. Okay. By the way, I want to encourage everybody, if you haven't had a chance, go check out all of the videos by the other Lawtubers. They are excellent. So I'm just going to share the screen over here so you guys see it. Right? So this is from Ethan Klein, Runkle the Bailey here. Ethan Klein of H3 Sues of our lazy reaction videos. Then you've got Ethan Klein's copyright lawsuit trap. And then you've got this one here. Hasan Piker makes true threats, doxes another streamer. Right? Doxes another streamer. So you've got a lot of good stuff there to check out from Nate the Lawyer and from Uncivil Law and from Runkle the Bailey. Check out those videos. They're all good stuff. They're all great people. They're all very smart. I have a lot of respect for those guys, all of them, right? And they're all with different specialties. Runkle's a Canadian lawyer, so he obviously knows Canadian law better, and he leans into firearms law. Uncivil Law, he's done some IP stuff. He's done some patent stuff. He knows constitutional law really well. Nate's a former law enforcement, right? And he's in New York, so he knows New York stuff really well, right? Knows a lot about law enforcement, right? So they each have their own specialty, which is great. They're real people. I know. It's crazy. Alex gifted 20 legal mindset memberships. Thank you. Yes. Thank you, Rob Gurney, for becoming a member, and Jordan Joestar for gifting a membership. E1137 Neo says doxers should realize threatening someone with their own address isn't the own they think it is. What assurances do they have if they were dumb enough to act on the intel that they wouldn't get a hard lesson in castle law? That is very true. If someone comes to Florida, the police in Florida say, we prefer, and this is a quote from the sheriff in Florida, that says, in fact, we prefer if you shoot them because it saves us the paperwork, right? So that, in terms of burglars or people breaking in your house, we prefer you shoot them because it saves us the paperwork. That's Florida, right? So yeah, yeah. Fat Steven, JFGs for 20 legal mindset membership. Yes. Yeah, that's very USA. That's very USA. Inspectre says for 99, it's clear that Twitch will side with Hasan in his inner circle. Is it possible for Tectone to sue Twitch for breach of contract, defamation, violation of California Yelp law? I don't know what Yelp law. Don't know about that one, but in terms of BOC or in terms of consumer fraud, I think he would have a private right of action for either one of those. Spark68 says, can federal court trial evidence be downloaded online once it's entered at trial using Pacer or Court Listener? Yeah, you can get that information. Yeah, we'll be able to get that information. Yeah, of course. Rocket Surgeon says, what about the 230 angle on Twitch selective TOS? The 230 angle, yes. And once again, I think there is an angle on that, but that's a broader issue for Twitch. Yes. Bronwyn gifted 20 legal mindset memberships. Thank you so much. Yes. What are your thoughts on Moon Channel and their coverage on video game related law? They've covered controversies like Yuzu and Gary Browser from a law POV. Yeah, he's got I listened to one of their videos. He's got a very chill voice, like very calm voice. And I think Moon Channel also likes like slice of life games and like really like relaxing games, like cozy games, like Stardew Valley and stuff like that. I think I watched his review on like Stardew Valley. But yeah, no, it seems like he knows what he's talking about in those areas. Warranty Void gifted 20 legal mindset memberships. Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
Paula says, can Hasan be sued as an LLC, or what would happen? Well, Hasan could be sued individually or as a corporation. I'm sure that Hasan has a corporation. I'm sure, unless he's an idiot. Top Gamer Ellie says, completely off topic, what do you think about the Epstein case being dropped in DOJ? No, I've already talked about that, so rewind and catch it. But essentially, not surprised. Solid Gold CEO said Hasan is so scared of not being seen as the smartest guy in the room. He denied the sky was blue on a clear and sunny day if his naysayer said it was. And he thinks he's the smartest guy in the room because he defames people. That's not what makes you the smartest guy in the room. You can't just try to go over there and say this person is a bad XYZ and not actually prove that you know what you're talking about. The reality is he doesn't know what he's talking about. He's not smart. And he's really off base on a lot of different topics that he feigns intellect in. Now, he does know about certain things, right? But when it comes to stuff like the law, he perhaps should make the assumption that lawyers know better than him. Perhaps a little bit. That someone with a law degree, and multiple people with a law degree, not just myself, know better than him. Perhaps. And when we say you're screwed, you probably are. Right. Miscellaneous says, Hasan and his orbiters are both devoutly follow and worship the book. Rules for Radicals by Saul Alinsky, which explains their vile and evil actions. I haven't read that, so I don't know. Colin and Lucas for 2. Thank you. Logical Victory says, Alligator Alcatraz is looking for volunteers. The Village Idiot says, did you ever think you would get in this feud with Hasan when you started covering H3H? No, I did not. I never thought that Hasan would be coming at me. It's hilarious. Izamu Sushi said, I live in Utah and just checked the law. It is not illegal to remove the orange tip. Cool. Greens from Singapore, love your content. Awesome. I'm going to be down in Singapore in November. I'm looking forward to it. I love Singapore. Singapore is awesome. The food's great. It's really fun. The Black Saiyan says Hasan constantly lies. How would that stand in court if someone sues for defamation? It would look bad, but it depends on who it is. The problem with it is that in America, defamation law is very permissive, particularly against other public figures like other streamers. So he gets away with a lot. But if he lived in another country, and we're about to talk about it, guys. We're about to get into it. We're about to get into how Hasan cannot live in another country. Unlike many of his friends, unlike myself, unlike most normal people, how Hasan Piker is stuck in California. Jordan Joseph said, question, is this guy Hasan a member of Hamas? Not officially. Metal Ninja said, may I request Mega Bass Shondo clip for Florida? Okay, hold on. I got you. Okay, you want some Mega Bass? I got you.
Not as in, I cannot absolve you. Mega based.
The Florida sheriff that says, we prefer you to shoot. It saves us the paperwork. Joshua Bradley says, with people like Hasan, they're big now, but they continue to burn bridge after bridge after bridge until only one remains. And then they burn the bridge to their island as well. Don't do this, guys. It's very bad. Yeah, it's really dumb. If Hasan gets brought to trial, he'll most likely bring Legal Legal. Legal Legal's not even going to defend this guy. Even Legal Legal wouldn't defend this. I don't even think he would. If Legal Legal stoops that low, I would be shocked. Alex for 5 says, Hasan is the smartest in the room if he's the only one there. Bongi for 15 Malaysian ringgit. This has probably been covered since I'm late today, but what is actually considered doxing? Love your work. Well, okay, there's a what we call a regular person's definition of doxing and what is illegal, right? So it can be illegal to threaten somebody and show their picture, even a public picture, like an Instagram picture, Facebook, whatever, like YouTube profile, whatever. That could be illegal. But doxing is generally releasing private information that is not readily available. So, for example, like your home address, or like, for example, if you're a private person and you have an alias, like, for example, my VTuber friends, right? Shout out to VTubers. So you're a VTuber and you have a VTuber name. And all of a sudden people expose your real name. That would be doxing because you don't publicly put that information out there. You're not trying to put that information out there, and someone is putting that information out there without your consent or approval. So that's different. That's something that is generally bad, and I don't support that, right? So that's why I say if anybody engages in that on my channel, sorry, I'm going to ban you, right? Because I think you should get somebody's consent before releasing information about them. If they don't care to have that information released, it should not be released. Sorry. So yeah. DB says, given the state of UK, Hasan would probably get knighted. Torek Rama says, another Florida sheriff said, if you threaten one of our deputies, we'll you graveyard dead. Florida's based. Florida has some crazy sheriffs, and God bless their hearts. Spider Mattress says, from Arkansas, love your content. Awesome. So let's talk about Hasan. Okay. So in case you don't know, this is Hasan with his friends on Trash Taste. So he visited Japan as a tourist, right? And he talked about moving to Japan. But one thing is that Hasan, unlike many other people, and this is a little educational immigration law and moving to other countries, particularly moving to Asia segment here, is that Hasan has no ability to be a long-term resident elsewhere. His buddy Connor, Sea-Dog VA, he's a long-term resident of Japan. He's an expatriate. He works for an agency, so he has a long-term work visa. He had to go through a criminal background check. He had to go through lots of other vetting by Japan. So he's good, and Japan wants him here long-term. Then we have our buddy Ramzi Khalid Ismail. So Ramzi Khalid Ismail came in as a tourist to Japan. He did not have a long-term visa. He did have a tourist exemption. And he came in under this tourist exemption, no background check, no criminal background check, unlike Sea Dog, because long-term residents have to have this. He came in and became a tourist that became a criminal. So he was arrested. He was officially a criminal in Japan. He's banned from the country for 5 years. Now, Hasan is not yet a criminal, but he's only a tourist. And he will always be a tourist because of two things. First of all, his association with questionable individuals. So he had his global entry revoked. So you have to clear a pretty extensive background check to get global entry. And one thing I'm going to use here, which I think is kind of funny, is that while Hasan Piker got denied global entry, I had to cover the personal information, but your boy Legal Mindset indeed still has global entry. So, gonna get Hasan real salty that your boy still has global entry, but Hasan Piker, no global entry. That's an expedited entry whenever you enter the country after traveling abroad. So W Mindset, legally, of course, globally, legally, Al Hasan Piker. We got him, boys. We got him. But beyond that, the one real reason why he could never make it abroad and why Hasan will have to stay in California for the rest of his days is because Japanese defamation. You would never be able to move to Japan. Because in Japan, defamation is both criminal and civil. And under Article 230, it prohibits publicly defaming another person by alleging facts. So all of this streaming that Hasan does, he nonstop defames people. Non-fucking stop. And there's no defense for that that's going to work for him. Because in order to defend yourself in Japan, you have to allege true facts in the public interest for the public benefit. So, for example, that would be covering like a criminal case or covering like big news. But you do not have a right to call somebody names without a reasonable basis for that. So Hasan will never be able to live anywhere in Asia, much less Japan, unlike his friend C-Dog, who knows better and is able to play nice, right? So that's just a little bit I wanted to throw in there about Hasan. Just as a little touche. Touchpad for 50 Swedish kronor. So let's be real. Hasan would be the smartest person in the void. Laughing Man says, not sure if this was asked, but if Nux goes to court, does he have to show his IRL face? If he's called as a witness in court, yes. If Nux went to court and he had to speak, yes, he would. Hypnotic and Rapture said, as a giant lawyer, are you blessed by Anukai? Must be. Stellar says, love from India. Shout out to my Indian brothers and sisters. Big Buddha says, global mindset. You know what's up? You know what's up? I'm an international. I love the world. The world is great. International lover. Spider Bro says, to be fair to Hasan, he's smarter than his orbiters, but that's not saying much. With other IQs combined, it wouldn't be close to room temperature. Joshua Bradley said, hold up. Give me a close up of that global entry pick. It's kind of wide. I'm kind of wide in this global entry pick. Like, and it's kind of a mug shot. Hold on. Let's see if I get this one big. It's kind of a mug shot there. Let's see. Hold on. Let's see if it'll focus. Yeah, it's kind of a mug shot there. Looks good though. Still looks good. Rolando Feliciano said, did Hasan's pirate buddy just make a suggestion that he could do something untoward towards Ethan? That would be bad. That would be bad. And oh yeah, I know that, by the way, Nate moved to Houston. Nate, the lawyer, moved to Houston. But he had spent a lot of time in New York. So I know my mod corrected me on that, but he'd spent a lot of time in New York, knows New York very well. Night Magnus says, not only this, but Japan is very adverse to terrorism. Islamists, Japan will probably deny him for his statements to Hamas, Nasrallah, and his pal, the Houthi terrorists. That's what I was saying. So when I was talking about him being denied global entry, that's because of his affiliations. So what I'm saying is those affiliations would be more than enough grounds for them to reject him from Japan. And I do believe that if he tried to actually move, that might stop him. So for example, if he tried to go set up a business there or work for a company there, whatever, he would probably be stopped. But beyond that, defamation would sink him. And I would love that. Oh, please, Hasan, come to Japan. I will have you. We're going to have the best defamation case. It's going to be great. Hoopty says, latest swears on me. Got a jet. Have a good one. Thank you. Grandmaster Pa says, could Hasan be arrested and civilly liable if he did streams Japan? Yes, he could. We need legal minds to help him immigrate immediately. I know. He should come over. Like I said, I will debate Hasan. I will debate Hasan face to face anytime in Korea, Japan, Thailand, or the Philippines. If he wants to debate me on the law, and we'll have lawyer moderators. He can pick a lawyer and I'll pick a lawyer, right? Well, we can pick two lawyer moderators, right? I will debate him on the law anytime, Hasan. You want to do the Thriller in Manila? Let's do it. You want to do the Terror in Tokyo? Let's go. The Showdown in Seoul, the Bangkok Brawl? Let's do it. Any of them. Because the defamation laws that he would trigger would be epic. And we'll both stream it. And we'll see how many seconds it takes him to get sent to jail. Snowfire says, don't failure to declare agricultural items or lose your global entry, Nexus, Canadian border, or fast. That's true. It's right. It says legal mindset. Go get global pass. Got the global pass. That's right. Deha says, I'd love to see Hasan get denied Japan. That'd be, But that's a long-term visa. Remember, for short-term tourism, they don't check as much. But for long-term, they check much more, like with Sea-Dog. And shout out to Sea-Dog, who's been able to behave himself, right? Bad News Batch says, but Andrew, everyone knows that you know where Americans can go. They can do whatever they want because they're Americans and have the Constitution. Yes, that's the Johnny Somali argument. Can Hasan come to India? I actually don't know Indian defamation law. That's a good question. Hudson Hawk says, off topic, you have a favorite brand of soju? Huayo. That's the one I was drinking the other day for my 300K celebration stream. Huayo is my favorite brand. Patrick says, ever since that content cop was dropped, it seems like everyone involved in that got the Sonichu medallion, all crashing and burning. They all ride in the same mentally deranged bus. Cherrick says, love you, Andrew. Most base lawyer. Love from the Netherlands. Shout out. Could Phoenix Wright defend the H3 lawsuit? Clan for 100 Danish kroner says, off topic, sorry, but not related to any particular case, but do you think of any scenario where a VTuber could sue or be sued in court without revealing their face or identity? It's no. That's the problem. They don't have special exemptions for VTubers. They don't. So no. Bruno Alves, as a new member, welcome. Big Buddha says Hasan is friends with a Houthi pirate that likes One Piece. Nux has named him Luffy the Houthi. Wonderful associations to have when trying to get a permanent visa in Japan. Exactly. And when they're looking at your resume and they're saying, hey, should we let this guy in? Oh, well, he's friends with Luffy the Houthi. It's not a great look. Sylv says, was wondering what could be worse for Hasan, the loss of global entry versus someone who never had it, since you need to do something to lose it. Exactly. He went out of his way to get rejected. Usually they're not paying that close of attention. The fact that he had it revoked means he was doing something bad. Sanders said, greeting from Norway. Sorry for asking, but when do you think the date for Ethan's court? It's going to be a while. Do you think it could be a chance for public court? No, it's not going to be televised. However, it will be public. So you can go to it in person, but there will be no cameras. Wambat says, why does Section 230 cover crimes on a platform when the platform operates like a publisher? We'll cover 230 on a separate thing. 230 is really deep, so I don't want to go into 230 right now. There's a lot of case law with 230. 230 is not simple. 230 is complicated. Industrial Bear, but good question. But 230 is not. I have to have my PP for 230 will be very substantial, right? Widow's Peak looking mighty fine. Andrew got that Eddie Munster vibe. I do like the Munsters. Tomer Schwartz says, can make them check if he goes short term. They can check and they can still deny you. So Hasan could be so hated eventually that they deny him even short term, but that's very rare. Typically, that's only if you're like really problematic. Now, it did happen with World of T-Shirts, who's a nuisance streamer. He got bounced out of Dubai because he was such a problem. So he landed in Dubai. He was going to do like a layover there or something like that. They said, nope, you got to leave immediately because you're too much of a problem. So it can happen. Countries can do it. Remember, countries have sovereign authority to reject whoever they want, whenever they want, for whatever reason. B-Dog 1058 says, it's all about, if it's about American defamation laws, why would he debate you in a country outside of America? Why can't it be in America? It's not about American defamation laws, right? It's about him making statements. It isn't just about that, right? It's about his general statements on the law, right? So it's about also the California laws, right, that he thinks he's immune from, right, etc. So yeah, good question. But yeah, it's about a lot of different laws, not just defamation law. In fact, defamation law is not at all facing him at all right now. He's not being sued. Hasan is not being sued for defamation right now. Let's get that clear. His orbiters are being sued for copyright infringement. He may be guilty of electronic cyber harassment and of illegally modifying an airsoft weapon. Those two things. So he's not yet being sued for defamation. He may be in the future, and that's my prediction. Vithin for 200 says, I mean, since Hasan has money, no matter what he has done, won't he be able to get a visa by other means? I mean, aren't people indulging in illegal activities getting what they want? No, they do not. That's not true at all. Especially in Japan. Japan does a lot of scrutiny, and they do not allow things to slide like that. That's not how their system works. I mean, maybe people think that was the way everywhere. It's not. It really is not. If you draw too much heat on yourself, Japan's not going to want you in. People get denied all the time for much less than what Mr. Piker did. So yeah, money is not always a solution. Michael for 5 says, have you heard of the lawsuit on the hostile takeover of Pure Spectrum CBD and Joe Rogan's friend / failed comedian Brandon Schwab? I need your take. I have not heard that. Gregory Wyman says, Hasan knows what the line is with what he can get away with on Twitch, but the legal is different. It doesn't matter until a lawsuit is filed, what is actually possibly trigger action by government. Well, obviously lawsuits can curb things. Obviously a lawsuit could curb things. And somebody placing a very good lawsuit against Hasan would be one way to check him, right? That's one method of checking. Stellar said, this Hasan situation is peak entertainment. I've not watched some good stuff on the internet for a long time until this dropped. I know, it's great stuff. We have 10,000 people in the chat, guys. 10,000 people. So smash that like button. Appreciate that. Let me read some over here on locals. This is from another lawyer in Australia, Aussie Overlord. Good to see you, man. It says, seen a few clips. Is this all hands on deck scenario, or is Hasan being Hasan? This is no. I think it's all hands. But they can discredit every lawyer on the planet. It won't change the law of the facts. Exactly. That's a great comment by Ozzy over there. He's an Australian lawyer. So yeah, no matter what they try to say about me or even the other lawyers in Lawtube or et cetera, it doesn't change the law, the facts, or the reality of what's going to happen. And I know that hurts Hasan's feelings, but at the end of the day, I'm happy to let him cope and seethe. Deborah Breeden says, the greetings to the Florida man from the Panhandle. Cool. And Hasan is getting pegged just like RKI. Wait, I don't want that image in my head. Why did you have to put that image in my head? Hudson Hawk says, per the orange tip, California penal code 20150. Thank you. Thank you. Always remember the tip. All right, guys, with that said, I'm going to end this one here. I'm going to catch you on the next one, maybe from Japan. Stay based, and I'll catch you later. Peace.
You are coping the seething. You just can't believe what you're seeing. It's you coping the seething. The truth it is all day, and now you are more than